Hi there, and welcome to your library orientation. In your research process, as you are trying to decide on a topic, and then once you settle on a topic and start to further research that topic and find sources to support whatever argument you're making on that topic, you are going to need to rely on more than just Google searches, because I am requiring that at least two of your sources be accessed through the library's databases. And I'm also requiring that at least one of those sources be a peer-reviewed source. Now, one of the easiest ways to get to the library databases, you're used to logging into the portal here from the Merced College website, clicking the portal, and then you'd have to log in, likely. Once you're logged in, one easy way to find the databases I'm talking about is to scroll down, and you see this library databases here. The high-quality databases that you are going to be looking for support material in will be EBSCOhost, Academic OneFile, SIRS, ProQuest SIRS, and Ethnic News Watch. Those are also high-quality sources too, and you can find peer-reviewed sources at these on these sources. Some other sources that are useful in background reading are Facts, Opposing Viewpoints, CQ Researcher, but those are overviews. It's basically reference material for you to understand a source, and you wouldn't want to use Opposing Viewpoints or Facts on File or CQ Researcher as an actual source in your essay. But sometimes you can use newspaper articles, but newspaper articles can also be found in EBSCOhost and other sources. If you don't see these databases when you come to your portal, you can also click More Library Databases, and we'll take you to the library website, and you can click Find Databases here. And once you are in the A to Z list of databases, you can see over here on the right where it says Popular Databases. One of those that I mentioned, Academic OneFile, is right there. Some of the others that I mentioned that are good for background reading are here as well. And there are some EBSCOhost databases in here too. But for EBSCO, I would recommend going to actual EBSCOhost. You can see here, when I put E, you can find EBSCOhost. That's all of the databases that are under EBSCOhost. Now, that's one way that you can get to these materials, but another way, instead of going down here on the portal where it says library databases, you can go to the actual library website. So from the Merced College webpage, you can just go right to the library where it says library here. And lots of resources are available for you here. You can go into the library as a student, get a library card set up. Since you are a student with Merced College, you can always text. If you have any questions about research, you can call, you can email. There's usually a chat feature here on the website. Yeah, right here, live chat with a librarian, so you can be texting with them through the website here. And they will help you with all sorts of things, finding the right source, finding sources for your topic, citing things correctly. Research librarians can help you with everything like that. So here at the library page on the website, there are the databases too. So again, you can see it goes to the A through Z, the alphabetical database listing that we saw earlier. But instead of doing that, I'm going to show you another thing that you can do. You can go to LibGuides, and I recommend that you do this because there is a further library orientation here under the LibGuide, the library guide, the research guide set up for our class. So when you go here, the first thing you're going to want to do is type in my last name. If you don't know how to spell my last name by now, I don't even know what to do with you guys. No, it's LL. And look, it's popping up. OYD. So, Lloyd, Lloyd. you're going to search for my last name. And look, the first thing you see on here, there are several hits for English 1A, Lloyd, Library Resources. So we're going to go there, and this is our research guide. You can see it up here. For my classes, the classes that I teach, this has been set up for me. You got your phone numbers here to contact librarians again, and you see that there is a library orientation set up by the main librarian, Dee Neer, who's great. You can go through this. I recommend going through. This is basically it's part of your online instruction for this week. Is going through the Merced College Library orientation. Now, you can see, if I maximize this, there are 25 slides here, and she talks about getting started with research, what you're going to be wanting to do, what a secondary source is as opposed to a primary source. Primary sources, basically, a secondary source is something that interprets or analyzes. Oops, I think I skipped way ahead here. Yeah. So she's talking about getting started, types of sources that you have. She goes over the crap test, which is something that I talked about in a previous video, right? She talks each part, the currency, the relevancy, the authority, and accuracy. I also threw in there 2 A's for my crap test. The purpose. So these are all things that you're going to want to look through. She starts talking about the difference between a scholarly and a popular source, right? And asking you the difference. And she is talking about primary versus secondary sources. So this is important, and it's going to be on the final, actually. A primary source is a document or a physical object that was written or created during the time that you are under study. So if you're talking about something historical, maybe it's an actual manuscript from those years. If you are quoting someone's speech, that's considered a primary source. Things like autobiographies, they're like first-hand accounts, essentially. When you were citing literature as a source, that would be a primary source. Then there's a difference between a primary and a secondary source. So as an example of primary sources, a diary, famous documents, things like that. Secondary source interprets or analyzes primary sources. Almost all of the articles that we have used as source material in this class have been secondary sources. They're argumentative essays that maybe they quote from or cite a primary source, maybe they don't, but they are analyzing or studying or arguing about an idea. Most of the stuff that you use are primary sources, magazine articles, commentaries, things like that. So this also starts to get into the catalog that Merced College Library has, searching for books. It goes through each step of accessing the library materials. Some of this stuff is outdated. The library website does not look like this anymore, as you can see from this video. It starts to go into some of the databases that I've already mentioned as well. Again, the library database. The library website has recently changed, but you can see Academic OneFile, EBSCOhost, SIRS. These are some of the ones that I mentioned. And these are some of the ones for background information. CQ Researcher, Facts on File, Opposing Viewpoints. Those, again, you would not use sources from these databases in your paper, but they can be very useful when you're trying to understand your source or your topic. When you're trying to understand your topic and decide what argument you want to make, you can look for this, look through what these have to say about your topic. Then you need to move on to EBSCO or Academic OneFile and start to find high quality sources. So have a look through this the library orientation. Then what you're going to want to do is, you can see these tabs up here. These tabs will help you find books if you want to find actual books or ebooks that might require a lot of reading. They're going to help you find articles. Most likely you guys will be looking for articles as sources. There are even academic videos in the databases. And it talks this section We'll go into source evaluation. It will talk about developing keywords, right, which is part of your brainstorming process. Those keywords, your search terms, and so it's kind of talking about that. How do I break down my topic into keywords? All of this material is available to you through the library, and this week is your time to be going through the library's resources, because you are going to have to settle on a topic and find source material before we meet again. You can go over here to citing your sources, and it gives you links and handouts to how to cite things in MLA style, which we've already discussed, and I'm going to review with you guys even more coming up. But I'm going to go over here to find articles, because this is where you guys are mainly going to be looking for your sources while you are settling on a topic, while you are testing out topics, right? That exploratory research. Once you have decided on a topic, finding articles may help you decide what your argument is going to be, and it may help you to find sources that you're going to actually quote in your paper, since some sources are required from these databases. So it talks about what an academic journal looks like here, the anatomy of a scholarly journal, different parts that you can expect from it. Over here, you'll see it says getting started with reference material. So you can find things like Salem Press and Gale Virtual Reference Library. They have encyclopedias, encyclopedic material. While you are searching for a topic, or while you are exploring your topic and maybe you don't know what you want to say about that topic, it might be good to see what an encyclopedia has to say about your topic. CQ Researcher and Issues and Controversies. Again, these are very useful when you want to see what people have to say about your topic. Opposing viewpoints. It says moving into magazine, journals, and newspapers. Some of these, Newsbank, LexisNexis, they have newspaper articles. You can use these as sources. You cannot use an opposing viewpoints pro and con overview as your source in an actual essay, but it could be very useful when you are first looking into a topic. So, for example, say you wanted to talk about immigration. You can open opposing viewpoints in context, and it's being slow. And say you want to look up immigration or immigration reform in opposing viewpoints. You're going to find some pros and cons articles. Here you see immigration. I want to read more immigration issues. Here's some academic journals. So you could use some academic journals over here. You can use some primary sources over here. That's good. Reference material you can't really use as sources in your paper. Now, if you go back, again, CQ Researcher and Issues and Controversies, these are useful for doing background reading on a topic. So let's say immigration again. Oops. Okay, so under immigration, you see a few articles, but they're all overview articles. This one is recent immigration policy. So if you look this up, it's saying immigration policy is an issue in politics, and it's basically just talking about all the issues in politics. Enforcement, the border wall. This would be a good place to look in a topic to narrow down to something specific. Instead of just immigration, maybe you want to talk about the border wall. Maybe you want to talk about sanctuary cities. Look, they have a chronology and they send you to other sources. You should never use this article as a source in your academic essay, but this is a good place to get started because it can send you to other articles. Likewise, Issues and Controversies. If you put in immigration, you're going to find some pros and cons articles. These will be very useful. Look, national debate topic, immigration. Should it substantially reduce its restrictions? Supporters argue this. Opponents argue this. If you go to a pros and cons article, it tells you both sides, and it can help you figure out what argument you want to make. Now, again, this is a good place to find sources, they'll showing you sources at the bottom, but you should never use this article in your essay. It shows a lack of research depth. It's like quoting from an encyclopedia article, but it's a good place to get started. Now, you do need to find sources, though, and we'll talk about that in part 2.